Some shocking news out of Ashburn, Virginia today. The Commanders have officially parted ways with their first draft pick in the 2024 class. Dominique Hampton, a fifth-rounder converted linebacker, is no longer with the team. We're going to be jumping into all of that and a whole bunch more surrounding this very surprising release. But before we do me a favor, guys, hit that like button if you are here for the updates. Also, if you appreciate my second upload today. Practice, we still haven't even had practice yet. You guys might get a third video today with some updates from there, depending on what goes down. But I am firmly committed to you guys. I'm firmly committed to this community. So hit that subscribe button if you have not already done so. And as we go through, please go to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on Dom Hampton's release and everything that I am about to say. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's talk about what actually happened. So Dominique Hampton, a 6'3", 220-pound safety from the University of Washington, essentially didn't play last year. I don't know if he even got a single defensive snap. I know they tried him at special teams, but for the most part, he just didn't play. Looks like he got on the field one time in the 23-19 win against the Cowboys, which I assume is going to be Week 18. Again, I don't know if that was defense. I don't know if it was special teams. They basically gave him a redshirt year and said, hey, look, you're converting from safety, did 5 or 6 years at Washington. We see your future as linebacker or at linebacker, so sit behind Bobby Wagner, learn the tricks of the trade, add some size to your frame, bulk up, and come back and be a part of this young future linebacking core, which at the time also featured Jordan McGee, and now we know also includes Kane Medrano. There was a moment in the playoff game against the Buccaneers where Bobby Wagner recovers that fumble that set the offense up that they really needed. The Commanders might not have won that game if that doesn't happen. Baker turns to hand it to Jalen McMillan, I believe, on a jet sweep. It's a fumble. Wagner recovers it at the Tampa Bay 20. Commanders go on to score. Hampton tracks down the ball, looks to give it to Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner says, hold on to it. And then later they get back together. And Hampton is basically saying, like, I'm holding on to it. I'll give it to you after the game. And Bobby Wagner says, no, that's for you. I want you to keep that. That's an indication of what the expectations were for Hampton, and not the expectations to become an elite player, to become a Hall of Fame player like Bobby Wagner, but just to be someone around for the long haul on this Commanders team. Bobby Wagner, I would just assume, is not saying that to anybody. And is it a nice gesture to a younger player? Absolutely, but I don't think he's doing that to just anybody off the street, a guy who just got elevated from the practice squad or someone who was signed in Week 10 because of an injury and they're going to be a free agent in the summer. I don't think he would do that. Dominique Hampton played essentially the entire preseason game against the New England Patriots. If you have not seen or if you have forgotten my post-game recap, again, I introduced a new concept, which is how I'm going to be doing all of my game recaps. But after we talk about the big highlights of the game, we're going to talk about my 5 players to remember for good, for bad reasons. I indicate my feelings about a certain player by the color of the box they were in. Red was really bad, yellow was troubling, but not panicking. Green was good, and dark green, which is a 4th color, which we didn't get to in the last game. Dark green's a game ball. That's how I'm differentiating my reactions to players. Dominique Hampton was one of the 5 that I put in my video, and I gave him a yellow. And I said, look, I'm not writing you off, but you looked out of place, you looked small, you looked timid, you didn't seem to have a great grasp of where you were supposed to be in the running game. I didn't see the coverage skills show up all that much. So I'm concerned, but because you basically didn't play football for an entire year last year, and you're finally taking on a new position, I'm willing to let things play out, even though I didn't like what I saw. Well, the Commanders, I guess, agreed to me. You know, I feel vindicated for adding him to my video and highlighting him as a player who stood out, but unfortunately, he stood out for the wrong reasons, and Adam Peters is sending a message here that he's not playing around, and we'll get into the Adam Peters angle of it all, because I do feel, even though he's not even a year and a half into his tenure with the Commanders, his reputation, I think would be a good way to put it, is very hard to pinpoint because there are a lot of questions, but also a lot of defenses and a lot of counter arguments that you can make for him. So there's definitely different angles to approach it from. Again, go to the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are on just how Adam Peters in general has run the organization up to this point. But let's talk about Dom Hampton. So that preseason game against the Patriots, if you didn't see it, consider yourself lucky. They lost by 30 points. The first play of the game was a 100-yard kick return touchdown. Dominique Hampton in this game, according to Pro Football Focus, playing that outside linebacker spot, was graded 28.4 out of 100. Now, I know that it seems arbitrary. Obviously, it's not. Pro Football Focus has their ranking metrics. But you might not know off the top of your head, what does a 28.4 actually mean? Well, I went digging, and I tried to find a player who got a grade that low for the overall season last year. They didn't exist. So then I went to individual game data, and I found the closest thing I could, which was 29.4. So 1 point difference. That game belonged to Will Levis in week 4 against the Miami Dolphins. In that game, he was 3 of 4 for 25 yards and an interception. He was sacked 0 times, 2 carries for 5 yards. So again, a quarterback going 3 of 4 for 25 yards and a pick was a better performance than what Dominique Hampton had against the Patriots. This is according to Pro Football Focus. What I saw from Dom Hampton was he didn't command the space in the middle of the field the way that he should. And again, I was willing to give him a little bit of grace because it's a new position and he hadn't played for so long. But he did not fit the run well. He was not very aggressive in making tackles. He looked small in the middle of the field. Even Kane Medrano, who's a converted wide receiver, he actually fit the part. He was big and bulky and he was playing physical. And yeah, Kane had some mistakes. I talked about them in my game reaction. He shot the wrong hole on a run play and near the goal line and let the Patriots running back bounce it to the other side. Couple of missed tackles. There were signs that, no, he's not ready to be a major contributor to the team, but he did also make some big plays, and he looked more physical. He looked more like he was trying to knock somebody's head off. He looked a step faster. You didn't get that with Hampton. And look, the conversion from positions was always going to be a work in progress. The Commanders, as I have detailed numerous times, are preferring to draft players off of their athletic potential more than necessarily their actual production, if that player doesn't exist. Like Josh Connerly was athletic and he produced. Dom Hampton was a 5th-round pick. He was the second to last pick the Commanders made in that draft in 2024. According to the NFL's official website, he got an 85 out of 100 in his athleticism score. He had the 3rd highest athletic profile among all safeties in that 24 draft. He ran a 4.5 40 with a 1.55 10-yard split, had a 39-inch vertical, 10.2 broad jump, a 6.8 3-cone, and a 4.1 20-yard shuttle. Good numbers there, again. And the Commanders believe in their ability to develop players. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out here. And maybe blame for this lies at the feet of Joe Witt Jr. Maybe it lies at the feet of Ken Norton. Maybe it lies at the feet of Dom Hampton for not paying attention in the classroom or not giving it his all in the weight room. I don't have the answers, and none of us do because we weren't there. But let's transition this and let's talk about Adam Peters. So on the one hand, I want to tip my cap to Adam Peters. And I really want to commend him for not having an ego, which makes me think about the Terry McLaurin situation. Because one of the running narratives has been that Adam Peters doesn't want to lose his first big contract negotiation battle. And he's kind of doing himself and his team a disservice at this point, not acquiescing to what McLaurin wants. Don't let your ego get in the way of making the right decision for the team. Well, that's directly contradicted by this release. Because what general manager thinks it's good for their image and their reputation to release a player basically 1 year after they drafted them without ever letting them actually get on the field aside from a preseason environment. And this player, he didn't go to jail for very bad reasons that I can't say on YouTube. He did not punch a teammate. He did not have relations with an executive's wife. None of that happened. He was just out of the way, doing his own thing, staying in his lane. Yet they saw enough, evidently. Yet Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, whoever made this decision, the final decision, they saw enough in that one preseason game to say that he does not have a future with this team. And so, again, I commend them. I commend Adam Peters for not having an ego. With that being said, this is another questionable decision that has been made during his tenure. The Terry McLaurin stuff also firmly in that conversation. Is he taking the right stance with how he's going about things? Let's talk about some of these draft picks now. So last year's draft pick, Jaden Daniels, sensational pick. I'm normally of the opinion that you don't get credit for making the obvious pick, but I will say a lot of people, and myself included, I have no problem admitting this. I thought Drake May was the better option. I was worried that Jaden Daniels succeeded in college because of Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and I was worried about his size. I thought he would get killed a year or two into his career. And some of that, he broke a rib against the Panthers in week 6, but he was able to stay on the field, and it now looks a lot better that he's bulked up. Johnny Newton in the second round. Not a very good year last year. Giving him the excuse of, not really the excuse, just giving him the reason, the valid reason of him having a Jones fracture, not getting to practice during training camp, entering the season late. Okay, we'll see what you look like this year. Mike Sainristil, good player. Not great, like some Commanders fans want to say. Good. Has a chance to be great, but still waiting on that. Ben Sinnott also didn't get on the field last year. Brandon Coleman allowed either 9 or 10 sacks. I forget the number. One of the highest amounts of any tackle in the league. Luke McCaffrey, less than 200 receiving yards as a rookie. Jordan McGee can't really get on the field. Even now, he can't play in the preseason game because he's injured all the time. And I love Jordan McGee too. Dom Hampton, who's no longer with the team, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who we don't know is going to make the final roster. So as much as these players do have upside, and it's not hard to imagine that, and it's also not hard to see what they could contribute to the team if they fulfill that potential, there are serious questions about if they're going to hit that level. And let me narrow down that list again. So Johnny Newton. We've seen signs from Jaden. We've seen signs from Sinnott. From Sainristil. Let's take them out of it. Johnny Newton, I'm waiting to see it. Ben Sinnott, I haven't seen anything. Brandon Coleman, second year, second position. Is this going to be the difference maker? Again, potential, but was one of the most friendly tackles in the league to opposing edge rushers. Luke McCaffrey, I still need to see it. Jordan McGee, you got to get on the field, my man. There are questions that can be asked of Adam Peters, and I'm not suggesting anybody should turn their back on him or question his decision-making, because I'm innocent until proven guilty. Give him the grace, give him the benefit of the doubt if he hasn't given you a reason to think that he does not know what he's doing. Now, if we get to the end of the year and Ben Sinnott doesn't get on the field, and McCaffrey's got another 180 yards after 17 games, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste doesn't make the final 53-man roster, and Kane Medrano doesn't play, and Jalen Lane doesn't play, then yes, there are going to have to be massive, massive questions that are asked. But that is in the future. We are not at that point yet. Let me circle this back to Dominique Hampton. With Dominique Hampton no longer on this team, my linebacking core, I called them my guys. It was Dom Hampton, Kane Medrano, and Jordan McGee. The three fast, rangy linebackers who were supposed to add an injection of athleticism into the middle of the field to give the Commanders more options. With Hampton being a converted safety and Medrano being a former wide receiver, you would think they would have the ability to guard running backs and tight ends over the middle of the field. And sure, that's still the hope for Medrano. You would hope that they had more speed than what Bobby Wagner at this age currently possesses and what Frankie Louvu has. Bobby Wagner ran a 4.4 at the combine, but that was in 2010? 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, Frankie Louvu ran a 4.8 at the combine. So getting guys who run 4.4s and 4.5s and are 23, 24 years old, that allows you to get more athleticism on the field. But clearly the Commanders saw enough and they said, no, Hampton doesn't have a future with this team. So, I mean, I'm sure this is going to be one of the questions that's asked of Dan Quinn, maybe the first question. If there are big updates at practice today, I promise you will get a third video today. I will come back with another one. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow, but honestly, I'm expecting to be back here later today. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. To my returning subscribers, you guys are awesome. I appreciate the love on all of these videos. Make sure that you do hit the like button and go to the comment section. Like I said, give me your thoughts on the Dom Hampton release and where are you at with Adam Peters in all of this. As always, I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.